Well, hello everyone. My name is John Brenneman, and today we're joined by Richard Bravo. We are sailing on the amazing Scenic Eclipse. We are actually in one of the owner's suite, and Richard and I are going to kind of go over some of the features and highlights of this cruise. So Richard, thanks for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So we're in the owner's suite. Can you tell us a little bit about the suites that are available on the Eclipse and the amenities that kind of make this cruise unique?
Absolutely. I'd be happy to. Yeah, absolutely. So right are presently in the owner's suite. So this is over 2,000 square feet, 2,099 square feet to be exact. You can see how spacious it is. We've held a number of different, even industry events in there where we've had like 30 plus people, and there's plenty of room between outside on the deck, inside in this spacious room. There's a beautiful large sleeping quarters behind us. There's a full walk-in restroom area with a full tub with views right out to the ocean, a full walk-in closet. There's a double shower that we have as well, so all the amenities you could possibly want in this stateroom. You can even extend this to be a little bit larger if you can believe that. There's an adjoining stateroom right next to us, so that would extend by combining those two rooms to about 2,500 square feet approximately. However, our starting categories begin with our veranda staterooms at 344 square feet and kind of continue on up from there. So between the veranda stateroom at 344 square feet to this one, we've got a total of 8 different staterooms to choose from.
And how many suites are on the ship?
So we have a total of 75 staterooms on board.
Fantastic. And tell us more about the ship.
The ship was built for expedition. It's important to know that. Having said that, we sail around the globe. So spending time in the polar regions, those would be the only 2 areas where we kind of have a bit of a season, if you will. So we spend some time in both those areas, but transiting between those 2 locations is where we hit all the other places around the globe. So when we leave Antarctica, we're going to swing up around South America, maybe dip into the Caribbean, cut across the Atlantic, spend some time going through the Mediterranean, the Adriatic. We'll come around the British Isles, and then we'll spend some time up in the Arctic. Then coming down on the opposite side, we may do Alaska one year, may do Japan another year. So it really changes up, which really kind of puts our itineraries in demand. You can't just say, I want to do scenic to Alaska next year. We may not be going. So you really have to look and see how that changes out, right?
And there's actually 2 of these.
We have 2 Scenic Eclipse vessels. So this ship was built in 2019. Scenic Eclipse 2 was built in 2023, so it just came out last year, actually, with a few minor enhancements to it, but overall you are on the same ship, absolutely.
So Scenic Discovery, you mentioned these are expedition ships.
Yes.
When we toured the ship, we saw the helicopter, we saw the submarine, we saw the Zodiacs, and those types of things. So tell us about the excursions, the experiences that people could expect on an expedition ship.
It's a really great question. That's something that really does set us apart in the industry. I would say we are absolutely industry leaders in how the Discovery team, coupled with the technology and the experiences that they all put together, really just kind of are a next level experience. So the gentleman who's put our Discovery programs together, his name is Jason Flesher. He's been, I believe, in outdoor activity, these type of excursions for like probably close to 40 years. He used to do his own rock climbing business in the Sierra Nevadas. But he was with us from the very start. He was with some other expedition cruises. But again, some of the technology on board the ship is, we're the first in the industry. So being able to work with that sort of technology, really understand it, and how it can enhance all the guest experiences along the way. One brief example is when we're in Antarctica, let's say, and we're getting prepared to go out on an excursion, within 15, 20 minutes tops, the entire team can have the Zodiacs off the ship. They're ready to go. So passengers are getting their boots on, they're getting their jackets on, and in just 15 minutes, they're set. Some other cruise lines that don't have this sort of technology where they can just quickly, just hook an anchor up to their Zodiacs and just lift them out, they're on the water, ready to go. It can take up to a couple hours and some time with that preparation. So all those things just give us more time to enjoy the destination. Kind of along those lines, just with the technology of the ship, is that, if we're using Antarctica as an example again, traveling from Ushuaia down to the Antarctic Peninsula, on average will take about 48 hours for most other cruise vessels. We do it in 24 to 36 hours. And that's just the propulsion system, the stabilizers that we have on board, the Azopod system, dynamic positioning system, all these things that really, again, just, make the ship faster, sleeker in its design. So where a place like Antarctica, or the polar regions in particular, makes a big difference is because weather plays such a big part. We can have an entire day planned, and the weather's like, nope, you're not going to do that today.
Yeah.
So we get time to go to plan B and then even plan C if we need to, where some other cruise ships, if they're getting there in 48 hours and the weather's not cooperating, they're just further and further behind in their their agenda. So again, all those things really kind of couple for a great guest experience.
We had the opportunity to meet some people on the Discovery team, and just hearing that at the minimum they have a master's and a lot of them have PhDs. Can you speak to that team? I mean, just what an amazing group of people and how they really enhance the experience.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of said it really in that statement, to be quite frank. I mean, that's the kind of knowledge that we bring on board. These are professionals, these are experts in their fields. So from, oceanography to geography and geology, all these different things. I mean, these are the folks that you have on board leading these different expeditions. So from the time you hop on board those Zodiacs, you're going to start, just learning things that you may have never known. The other part that I don't think we talk enough about, and it's really important, and I wish I could speak to it in greater depths, as intelligently as I like, but I can just say that the eco-friendliness of the ships is a huge, huge part of what truly kind of makes up Scenic. I know this is incredibly important to Glenn and his wife, and so when they're constructing the ships, even things like the wallpaper that we have on board, like these are eco-friendly wallpapers that have been chosen. That level of detail, it's incredibly important. They go through these discussions before you go out and you're going to walk on the snow and set foot. Just the importance of really, truly just leaving your footprints behind. Not even like, don't get down on your knees because you don't want to leave anything from your, your clothing, left back on the snow. So they take really great pride in that, and it's just incredibly important to them. So yeah.
As I mentioned, we had the opportunity to meet some of the Discovery team. For example, one of the gentlemen I was talking to is an expert in whales.
Yes.
And so you have a team in Antarctica. About how many people?
Up to 20 on
up to 20
cruise,
up to 20 people. So you can just imagine the diversity of the information that they have. That
That's right.
When you're whale watching, to actually have somebody who has a master's or PhD in whaleography, if that's the right word or whatever. Right. Okay, let's get to more of the fun stuff. Dining.
Yes.
I'd like you to talk about dining. I've had the opportunity to dine in Coco Sushi. We had Lumiere, French cuisine. Last night we had Yacht Club. We had the Italian restaurant, which is
Elements.
Elements. Yes, we ate there. And we did a webinar and I mentioned it. Even the room service was amazing. I mean, I had lamb chops and Caesar salad and
wow.
And it was phenomenal. Some of the best lamb chops I ever had. It's not the typical cruise ship. Get a personal pizza or something like that.
That's right.
So speak to the dining and the options that someone has on board for dining.
If you've got enough footage and battery life, I can talk about that, because really the culinary is a huge experience. That's something that really needs, I think, be in the forefront of the discussions, because 9 restaurants on board the ship, and then you 10th with your in-room dining that you mentioned. I mean, lamb chops for in-room dining, that's pretty impressive, right? So 9 different restaurants, all featuring a number of different things, and if that's not enough, the menu changes out every 2 to 3 days on board the different restaurants. So you may think, all right, 8-day, 7-night cruise, I won't get a chance to even experience most of them anyways, but if you're doing a 15, 21-day sailing, that's a big difference. I mean, I've heard different guests comment and say, I was on such and such a cruise and we were on a 21-day cruise, and I really got tired of the food because it was 2 restaurants on the same menu. So that's a really big thing also, but just to talk briefly about a few of them, you mentioned Lumiere's. With the countries that I've been to in Europe, France happens to be my favorite one, so I was really excited to be able to enjoy Lumiere's the first night. The food was absolutely amazing, and I don't know how you would describe it, but I mean, every bite was just completely delicious, but I left feeling full, but certainly not stuffed. So even just the balance was, they got that perfect. The wines that they paired with it were amazing. The atmosphere, the ambiance, it's intimate. I think it seats 34 guests in total. And the other nice part about Lumiere is if you caught, you have the windows where you can see the chefs preparing, plating the food, so bringing it out. So you're part of that experience just from the moment that you sit down.
I actually mentioned that. How often are you in a cruise ship where you actually have, an open view to the kitchen?
Right.
It was like a 10-course tasting menu.
Yes.
But not a lot of food, which was perfect. And I was surprised with I don't want to say with the service, but with the timing of it. It would be like as soon as you finish one course, they would pick that up and they'd bring the next one. So sometimes, particularly in cruises, sometimes when you have like a tasting menu, it is a very long kind of meal because of the time in between. It was perfectly timed.
And it's a really good point. I think just because the intimacy of all our different restaurants. So none of the restaurants, aside from Elements being really one of the larger ones, they're all going to be more intimate, so you get that more attentive service also. Just to talk about a couple of others really quick, Coco's is really impressive. So you dined at Coco's, you did the sushi, hopefully you enjoyed that sushi.
Very much so.
Yeah, and what some people don't know is that I believe it's a third deck. Probably the majority of that deck is dedicated to refrigeration. So my understanding is we pick up our sushi actually from Japan, so the fact that it's still kept that fresh days into a cruise is really impressive. But you have Coco's Sushi when you first walk in. It's kind of like 3 restaurants in one. Then right next to that is the Asian fusion restaurant. So that will rotate. It may be Indonesian one night and Thai the next night, Japanese another night. And then you have the night market restaurant in the back. And if you haven't had a chance to enjoy that, see if you can do that. Okay. There's a total of 8 guests that are invited to that, and you get to just watch the chef right in front of you preparing the meals. Very interactive. I mean, the presentations are, it's art what they're doing, really, with the food. Then you get to taste that, some nice wines that are paired with that as well. Again, I told you I can go on and on with a number of different ones. Those are some of the highlighted ones that I would mention. And then basic, the Azure Cafe, all day long, breakfast, lunch, dinner, if you just want to pop in for something quick and good.
Okay, so we kind of, food, what goes with food? We need to talk wine. So for a lot of people when they travel, a nice glass of wine at dinner or a cocktail with friends is a really important part of that kind of cruise vacation. So when we talk about the in-suite minibar, the various, just talk about the open alcohol package.
Yeah, so it's all inclusive. So you're going to get some premium wines, beers, and other cocktails and drinks that you want with every meal. In between the Scenic Lounge, that's kind of the heartbeat of the ship. I think you'd probably agree. Some people come to gather, connect, over drink and just good conversation. Beginning with Scenic Lounge, I guess I'll start there. Talking about the whiskey bar. I mean, just when you walk into it, I mean, it's like the centerpiece of the room. I never thought you could make a whiskey bar the centerpiece of the room, but just that beautiful like glass and mirror, the way they have it stocked up. We have over 160 whiskeys to choose from on that you have access to. So if you can plow your way through as many as you're on your cruise, you can actually do that. So
it would need to be a longer cruise.
It need to be a longer cruise, absolutely. But that's an option for guests too. And there's no extra charge for that too. We've got some amazing wines again from around the world. There is only a very short segment of wines that aren't included, and that would be on our chairman's collection. And I don't know the exact number, but those are going to just be some, higher end, some years old wines. In some cases, probably start at, I think, in the $400 range per bottle, and can kind of go up from there. Okay. Yes.
You talk about the bar and the Scenic Lounge. Was yesterday? They were doing a mixology class. They were teaching people how to make drinks, which was great. Had a nice crowd around the bar. And then, of course, after you see how they make the cocktails, everyone received one of them. Along those lines, talk about the activities and those types of things that are on board that someone can enjoy while they're sailing.
So that was a really great example. There's different discussions that they'll do. So, in fact, this afternoon, it may be going on right now, as a matter of fact. I know that they're having a discussion on oceanology. So where you can go in and hear full presentations, some nice pictures and videos, and some Q&A. Yesterday morning, we got to see the amazing Chef Tom doing a cooking demonstration on bananas, of all things. I didn't know bananas could be that exciting, but he just talked about how nothing on the banana gets wasted and the processes and how they use that. And then we got to taste that after also and have some Q&A with that. There's the cruise manager discussions also, talking about things from next day's ports of call to what the different shore tours are going to be. This afternoon, I know that they had time to gather with one of the team members to do some wildlife spotting, off the bow, just to kind of see what was spotted.
Had a scavenger hunt this morning.
A scavenger hunt this morning also, yeah. So there's a lot of fun, interactive things to do. This isn't the cruise ship where you're going to find a casino and Vegas-style night shows, although we do have some really good entertainment. Yeah. Have you joined some of the things in the evening?
I have not yet.
Yeah, okay. So there's like some fun, maybe some Broadway-style singing. In fact, on Broadway, just before this cruise, you probably boarded when I did, so we may have just missed that. But we had someone from Broadway actually on board one of our sailings too. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that we're looking to build more of some themes around are going to be those type of things too. So we had the Broadway singer on board. We actually have on some of our, it's going outside of what we're doing here, if that's okay to mention, but even our Scenic River, where we're going to have somebody who is a professor down at Lynn University in Florida, and he's very versed in like political science and military history and world history. So we'll have some of those guest speakers on board.
I made note of the fact that he was an expert on military history, because obviously we have, that is a special interest to a lot of our clients. Activities. So I saw the kayaks, I saw the paddle boards, those types of things. So talk about some of those activities like when the ship isn't sailing.
Exactly. So especially in some locations like we're going today, provided the weather is cooperating, we have access to all those different things that you just made reference to. So from paddle boards, kayaks, I know that we got some sea-doos on board, snorkel gear. So in a case where we're able to hang outside, beautiful island and a beautiful day, we'll pull all those things out and you have access to do that as well. When you're in the polar regions, we also have an opportunity to do one of the polar plunges if you're brave enough to do that.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things I talked about at the webinar, and not everybody who's watching this saw the webinar, is the fact that we have the MOA exclusive amenity of a $75 per person, $150 per suite onboard credit. One of the amazing things for somebody who's been on a lot of cruises is when you embark, they don't ask for your credit card. Right. It's such an all-inclusive thing. So I get on board and I have my $150 onboard credit. What can I actually use that on?
You can use it for the gift shop. We have the Scenic gift shop, some beautiful jewelry and some other accessories that you can find in there. You can use it towards the spa.
Yes.
Most people use it towards the spa. So you have a really beautiful spa that you've probably had a chance to look at also. The only thing really that you have to pay for then in that case would be a massage. So you can apply it towards massage. All the other things, talking about the spa, are included. So if you just want to go in, enjoy the infrared chairs. There's no charge for those things. You can just walk in. You don't need an appointment. We have there's a sauna. There's a cold plunge. The cold plunge, exactly. And then there's this beautiful thick smell of eucalyptus that's just kind of wafting in the air also. And then once you've done the cold plunge, as an example, then you can head out right in the back, and we've got a nice, warm, heated plunge pool for you on that side also. So one side is women only, and then on the other side, it would be co-ed for that.
Excellent. Yeah. As soon as we're done here, I have a massage scheduled. So I'm looking very much forward to a much-needed massage.
I'm sure. Absolutely.
So one of the things that I think is going to be of great interest to our clientele is the open bridge policy. And it's basically open, 24/7. From what I understand.
That's right.
And you go in there and can talk to the captain and the crew, watch them navigate the ship. They even have coffee in there. So it is as inviting as can be, so somebody wouldn't feel uncomfortable going in there and hanging out for an hour. It's like we want you to hang out if you're interested. Sit down, have a cup of coffee, ask those kind of questions, because we've done groups on cruises before where that was offered, and literally the issue we had was so many people in our group wanted to sign up for the bridge tour. I mentioned we did a Mississippi River cruise, and I think we did like 9 or 10 bridge tours.
Wow.
Because almost everybody in the group wanted to do it. And that was like a 25 minute tour. To think that you could go up there, and not just one day, whenever you wanted, you could just go up there, sit down. I mean, if your morning coffee is sitting on the bridge, having a cup of coffee, watching them bring the ship in or take it out in the afternoon, you're welcome to do that.
That's right. That's right. That's really unique to us too. So like you said, anytime, and they are incredibly friendly. I think you've already gone up there, it sounds like too. So I mean, they're engaging, they'll answer any questions you want. I mean, I certainly don't understand the technology, but to see how it's just this entire room. And they'll take the time to kind of go over and walk through some different things with you. So it's
it
really
was
cool
interesting.
experience.
Boarding the ship, we're kind of walking around, and we walk down, and all of a sudden we're like walking onto the bridge, and not aware of that policy. You walk in, and it's like, oh, and they're like, no, come on in. I think that kind of leads me into and I don't even know if this is a question, but the friendliness of the staff.
Yes.
Everyone is so welcoming and says hi and has a smile on their face and those types of things. And literally, it was minutes after we got on board that we accidentally, because we weren't looking to walk on the bridge, we walked on the bridge, and they were just like, come in, sit down. And that is kind of that, it's like you're being welcomed home from everywhere you go.
I really think you nailed it, and honestly, without it sounding cheesy in any way, that really is the atmosphere on board the ship. This is supposed to be like you're coming home. Everybody is treated the same. If you're in the penthouse suite that we're in right now, if you're in the veranda, everybody receives equal treatment. Certainly there's more amenities, and some of the other things too, but the staff is phenomenal. What I really like about it too is that we truly have the world represented on board the ships. As you meet some of the different staff members, I mean, people from around the world, from the U.S. to throughout Europe to Africa, the South Pacific, Indonesia. So, I mean, it's we've got a really good representation. Everybody just seems to have this sort of service gene that is just hospitality, and just welcoming. They remember all the details, the drink that you want. We didn't even talk about our Butler service.
Yeah,
so this might be exactly.
I was going to lead into that next.
Yeah, so perfect segue. So every suite gets veranda service. By the way, every stateroom is a veranda stateroom too,
Yep.
so there's no inside staterooms, there's no ocean view staterooms, everything is veranda.
The minimum suite is a veranda suite that has butler
correct.
service.
Yep,
So,
minimum suite, veranda suite, 433 square feet, exactly.
Yep.
I mean, very spacious, plenty of room to tuck everything away. And the butlers, I think I shared with you separately,
Yeah.
but if you haven't experienced butler service, please don't have the misconception that they're going to be all in your business, and it's nothing like that. They truly are there just to kind of step in to just make everything a bit easier for you. You know, so they do a really great job. If it means stocking your bar with Diet Coke and the certain wine that you want, they're going to take the time to do that. Also, maybe make reservations for you. You know, you set your reservation for massage. They can do things like that. The in-room service. Kind of jump in on something else a little bit, but I didn't want to forget when you talked about the bridge tour with some other lines that you've done, and all these tours going through and stuff like that too, and having that limited time. One of the things that makes Scenic Eclipse so special is that there's no more than 228 guests maximum on any sailing in the non-polar regions, 200 maximum in the polar regions. So this is intimate. I don't think you could say there's been any crowding at any time on the ship through any hallway, any public space. So I mean, you really feel like you're just a beautiful floating hotel, and easy access to find a private location if you just want to have private conversation. But if you want to be where some folks are gathered, that's not hard to find either.
Yeah. I mean, you talk about the butler service. So shortly after we made it to our suite, the butler came by, introduced himself. You have a button on your phone, you push it, you talk to your butler. You have the in-suite mini bar. They will stock it with whichever cold drinks you'd like. They also have, if you want a whiskey or a vodka or something like that, then they'll have that in your suites as well. We did some laundry service. They pick it up, they bring it in your room. I mean, just amazing service. The very first time I was on a cruise, I had butler service. And we've had these discussions before, and it's like, well, what does the butler do? And it's like they're there to do whatever you would like them to do. You mentioned, the making the reservations or those types of things, stock your mini bar, anything like that. Just phenomenal kind of thing. We're kind of wrapping it up. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to share about these ships that you think our viewers will be interested in hearing?
We certainly covered a lot of it, so again, thank you for this opportunity. I would just say that there is a genuine uniqueness about Scenic Eclipse. It's ultra luxury, 6-star, hands down. I mean, you can't argue that fact, really. With the technology and things like that I mentioned, plus just the newness of the ships, the luxuriousness of the ships, we truly are in a class of our own. I mean, there's other luxury out there, don't get me wrong, and I'm not diminishing that. But because of the newness and all those things, when you couple it all together, we're hitting it on every single button. And you got some other folks out there that are doing some things and just starting to do some things that we've been doing now for at least 5 years with Scenic Eclipse. Even something like with the fact that it's dynamic positioning system. We were the first ones to have that for a passenger vessel. So it's those type of things we've been working with longer. We know how to work, and do those things.
Speak of that, how that affects, like when you're in Antarctica with the no anchors and those type of things, because that goes back to the sustainability thing we talked about earlier.
Right. So we don't drop anchor in most cases. We do have some anchors on board, so we use them, as needed, of course. But we basically can, with the dynamic positioning system, kind of lock ourselves in place with the azipod system, which kind of, takes the place of a rudder. These are fully rotating, propeller systems, basically. So we can turn on a dime. So we shared a picture. I shared a picture with you just yesterday, where there's this amazing picture of the ship right alongside a floating ice sheet, and that floating ice sheet is not attached to land, of course, so it's constantly moving at some speed. But with the technology we have on board, we can basically pull up right next to it where it kind of locks in tow with it, so at no point are we going to get separated. Guests can safely get off and get back on, and some other cruise lines that don't have that technology still have to break through the ice.
To do
it's not as safe an experience. I'm sure they take all precautions, but it's that type of stuff that we can do.
You're also breaking through the ice.
And you're not disrupting
the ice.
Exactly, absolutely. Right, great point.
Yeah. One other thing I thought of on the service, and it's funny, I like cookies or something like that, so when you go back to the cabin, just something to snack on. And last night went by the yacht club or the yacht.
Yeah, the yacht club.
Yeah, the yacht club. Okay, so went by the yacht club and was going to grab a couple cookies, and I said, "Do you have the chocolate chip cookies you had last night?" And they're like, "We can get some." And I thought I was going to wait, and they go, "What suite are you in?" And I go, 618. And 5 minutes after I get back to the cabin, there's my butler knocking on the door, bringing in the chocolate chip cookies. Not that I needed them, but it was certainly nice to have them later on in the evening.
Yeah,
so.
it's that type of detail that you never feel like you're having them go out of the way. They just kind of get it done, Yeah.
Real quick, you talked about some of the newer people that have kind of entered this space. Not a lot of people maybe are fully aware. Can you kind of just give us a brief history of when Scenic began in Australia and kind of give them a history? Because I think that speaks to the experience that you bring.
Absolutely. It's a really fair question, too, because let's be honest, in the U.S., in particular, U.S. market, we're not a household name. There's a number of other ocean cruise lines, river cruise lines out there that people are well familiar with. And the company, however, started in Australia about 37 years ago, actually, out of Newcastle, Australia, and they began running motor coach tours down the old ocean roads, the very southern part of Australia. Never been, but I understand it's incredibly beautiful. So they did that for a number of years, expanded their tour motor coach business. It wasn't until between 2006, 2008 that under the Scenic brand, and I should pause there for a moment. So the company is Scenic Group, and then we have two brands, Scenic and Emerald. And under the Scenic brand, they started entering river cruise service in Europe. We're now seeing all the main waterways in Europe: Upper Danube, Lower Danube, Rhine, the Main. There's the Belgian-Dutch waterways, Moselle River,
Douro,
the Douro, Burgundy, Provence, the Seine River, Bordeaux. So all the main waterways there. In addition, I think it was probably 2012, 2014, we started sailing the Mekong River. So between Vietnam, Cambodia, with all of our sailings, so you can always add pre and post hotel and some land components for a number of these as well too. But just kind of talking about the company, it was in 2014 that we brought our Emerald brand on board doing river cruises in Europe. We now have two beautiful Emerald yachts, no more than 100 passengers on board each of those vessels. They sail warm water destinations year-round, so Caribbean, Mediterranean, Adriatic. When it's safe to go through the Red Sea, we're going to be making our way down to the Seychelles also, so if you want something kind of off the grid, more exotic. Two vessels built respectively between the Azura and Sakara between 2022 and 2023. We've got a new one that we announced that will be entering service, the Emerald Kaya, in 2026. And then back to Scenic, the Scenic Eclipse was built in 2019, and its sister ship, Scenic Eclipse 2, in 2023. So that's kind of, we've got a really nice, large portfolio with that a full product presentation. I mean, each and every one has a little bit different something that they're offering for everybody. Yeah.
Fantastic. I think ending with the history is a great place to end. Great. So I appreciate you taking time out of your day to sit down with us, letting us come in the beautiful owner's suite. Good luck getting me out.
I know. No. Same here. We'll hang out.
Honestly, it was a pleasure, and thanks for everything, and thanks for having us on board.
Thank you so much.
Everyone, give us a call. You should learn more about this product. It is a great option for your next cruise vacation. We'll see you again soon.